so much for coming out. I see so many new faces, which is great. I hope you guys all seen the show. I know some of you haven't, but that's okay, we'll get you in. I mean, you missed out. If you didn't see it last week, that's fine, we'll get you in. But we have something really sweet for you today. It's going to be amazing, but it's not the show, but this is good. So we're going to do that in a minute before you guys start your interviews. But I just wanted to say, this show is always changing. We just hit our 17th year, our 10th million guest, so that's amazing for us. But the great thing about it is it's always evolving. I know some people, I think it was, I can't remember, someone was here at the beginning of the show, the premiere, which is really, really great, but that was 17 years ago. It's a new show. So if you come back a month from now, you'll be amazed because it's always evolving. This is a live show. And the great thing about it is the artistic team, they're always tweaking. But the changes that we have now are almost 30%. I think actually 30% to the show. So it's really big for us. And when the changes came about, we worked with the original choreographer, the original lighting team, the original composer. That's a big deal for us. So we're very excited about that. We've gotten some great reviews so far. And this is the first B-boy trio in the history of Cirque. This is right now the only aerial bamboo with Cirque. So we're special right now, so we're glad to share that with you. So today we're going to do something special. We're going to set up the interviews, of course, later, but before that, I'm going to introduce you to our artistic director, Daniel Ross, and he's going to give you some more information about the aerial bamboo. And you'll have an opportunity to interview Danielle after the special little session we're going to do.
This is the cast, they're biased. Yes. Well, welcome, thank you for coming today. I didn't really prepare much, but I can talk a little bit about the process and what we've done over the last few months. Actually, more over the last year in Nouba. Some of you probably know already. We've changed the whole clown material, so the whole comedy factor of the show has been revised. We've hired 2 new clowns. We just saw them being who they are. Some of you saw them doing this with a full house, and I think you can all say that it's pretty efficient. So they're pretty awesome, both of them. Also, what we've been doing is put 2 new acts in the show. So the first 10 minutes of the show is completely new. One of these acts is called aerial bamboo. The reason why it's called aerial bamboo is because it used to be done on a piece of bamboo. Now, of course, we're a bit more modern, and it's more efficient to have a piece of steel, and it looks like a little ladder and everything. The duo doing this, you'll have a chance to meet them later, is a couple who are working and living and having a family together for many, many years now. They're from Russia, and they worked and evolved in the traditional circus. So it's a very traditional number, which was around a lot, you know, in the middle of the 20th century, which kind of is less common in the circus now. We used to have one of these acts in a show in China, in Macau, and that show no longer is, so we thought that it would be a good idea to bring that over to the Nouba, because it was a good fit for that position in the show, and also because it's something that people are not used to see, right? So, yes. Yeah, so the 2 acts of the show, we needed to make some changes. We felt that our opening needed a little bit of a revision. For the ones of you who have been here for a long time and saw the original Nouba, we used to have a German wheel act, which was very industrial and urban. Okay, the whole idea was to have the relationship between man and the machine and all this. That was the original idea with Franco, the original director. So what we decided to do here, we wanted to stay very urban, and we feel that at Cirque we've been using a lot of the traditional circus act, and we felt that it was time to try something else, something from the street culture, something that was coming from another place. So we found these B-boys, and we said, okay, let's make that opening, that urban and that trafficking very powerful with dance, with acrobatic dance basically, because that's what b-boys is. And as you know, the b-boys were very popular in the 80s, and it's something that really got going. Our head coach, which we'll talk to you later, Matthew, we were very lucky because he used to be a b-boy himself, and he's also an acrobatic coach. So we had the resources we needed to make that happen. So we hired that act. It's very high power, and it really reminds you of the city, of the grits of the city. The second act, it's always been a very poetic moment on Nouba, and this is something we didn't want to lose. We wanted to still have that beautiful tableau, that scene in the park, and all this, but we wanted to keep the traditional circus idea up in the air. So that's why we came and get the bamboo. Their show is a love story, basically. And the great thing about it is that it's a real love story that they carry on stage every day, so it's very heartfelt. They've done it for so long that they're so comfortable, it's like you driving your car. So the other day they were in an interview and somebody asked them, what is the hardest part of you performing this act? What is it that you find the most difficult? And the journalist meant, technically, what is difficult to do? And what they said was, well, what's difficult is to make sure that we actually touch the audience. So they have the acrobatic in their pocket, it's not a problem. But the goal here is to send emotion and make the people in the house feel something. And I think they achieved that quite well. So, so the love story, the traditional circus, and with that we managed to preserve the soul of the show while making a big change. The other great thing about the bamboo is not only the love stories, and acrobatically it's a very impressive number. It's high up, there's difficult acrobatics, and it will, startle the audience a little bit, which is what we do at the circus above all. So, yeah. Thank you. Enough? Good. Thank you. Thank you.
So again, you guys will have an opportunity to interview Danielle after we put on a special session for you. Next up will be our head coach and dance camp captain, Matthew Sparks, and he'll just give you a brief overview of the bamboo and just how they fit into the show, and he'll also introduce the jam session that we're putting together for you.
Again, they're quiet. Dan said so much and spoke so well, I'm not too sure really what I can add to that, but I can tell you some of the backstory of this show and why the B-Boys fit in so very, very well. Did I just lose my mic there? Momentarily. So, Nouba started as one of the brainchilds of Gilles Saint-Croix. Gilles is one of the early founders, really, of Cirque du Soleil, of this company. And the way it was explained to me is a family member of Gilles sort of challenged him and said, Cirque needs a hip-hop show. That family member, a son of his, was very close to that world, to the urban world and the hip-hop world. And Gilles took that among many other threads as part of the fabric that he would begin with when sort of helping compose what this show was going to be. So he took things like Comédie dell'arte, and the world of fairy tales, because we are on Disney World. And he took this idea of the urbans, which is the hip-hop sort of feeling, and said, how are these urbans influenced by circus, and how does the world of the circus change who they are? So that's one of the threads that happens through the show. For those of you that have seen the show, there are these sort of monochromatically dressed people that are walking around on stage. Those in the show are our urbans, and as you watch the show, they evolve and they become something else. They become performers themselves and run away and join the circus. That's sort of one of the many dreams and storylines that weaves its way through Nouba. Well, now we've had these b-boys at the beginning of the act, and it fits like it's always been there. This is the urban dance, hip-hop, b-boying, what these guys do. And they have a feeling when they perform in the show, like they're part of that urban world that our cast is already existing in, but they're already something different. So they're driving the energy and the action of the show quite early on. So that's what the b-boys have done. When I watch the show, I feel like that's always been there. Even though I've been here so long, I've seen the two other versions that have been there. It's a very natural fit. The other thing that I think that we achieved so beautifully with this new change is Nouba's always been a very powerful and special show. For me, I've worked with Cirque for 16 years. I've seen a lot of the shows. I'm Canadian. I grew up with Cirque in my backyard. So I saw my first Cirque du Soleil show in the 1980s. So this has always been something that I've been touched by and familiar with. And Nouba really is one of the company's great shows. It was really important to me personally that when we do these changes, some of that integrity of the show, that we make sure we don't lose it, that it's still the same beautiful show that Nouba has always been, even though it's now revitalized and refreshed. And we achieved that because the pacing is what it was always supposed to be. The feeling of the opening act still has that feeling of rush hour. Every busy city in the world has that same sort of feeling, like people are going from point A to point B. They are not looking at what's happening around them. I'm late, I'm important, I'm going there. And that's sort of what we have with our urbans. And yet we have this energetic dance going on. And that's followed by this really beautiful, all the pacing of Nouba. There are these hills and valleys where you have something energetic. And just when you need to breathe, it gives you that. And now the aerial bamboo still gives us that breath, but with an acrobatic impact. One of my favorite new images of the show, and I don't know how many of you guys have seen it yet, but in the aerial bamboo act, there's a part where he's holding her in his mouth, and she drops down below him, and she spins at a top. Like, I don't know, it's faster than the world's fastest figure skater spinning on ice. I mean, it's amazing, this human top that she becomes. And it's become, for me, one of my favorite images that we have in the entire show. So now we've gone from this evolution where we still respect that pacing and the beauty, the energy of rush hour, the romance and the poetry. The acrobatic level has gone up. The raw, physical, human performance element has gone up. So the show is everything that it was always intended to be by the original director, Franco Dragone, and the director of creation, Gilles St. Croix. It has all of that, but it's gone further. And I'm really, really proud of what's happened here. So in the last 2 years, so much has changed. The rolla-bola and juggling act has come in. With these new changes, we have new makeup, new costume, new lighting has gone in to accompany these things. Original creators, as Dan mentioned, came back to make that happen. New acts, 2 new acts. The first, I mean, if you start from the time the animation begins, which is what you guys got a little breath of with the new clowns, if you go from there, all the way through the animation, through to these new acts, I haven't timed it, I'm guessing it's 20 plus minutes, because the animation is probably a good 10. It's probably 20 plus minutes of the first show that are completely new and yet somehow familiar. So I'm pretty pleased and happy, and if you guys have seen the show last night or in the last week, I think you've seen some of the fruits of our labors. We're pretty proud. So.
And just to touch on something he mentioned about Sasha holding his wife in his teeth, we had to slow down the video to count. There's no way humanly possible you can count the spins, and I believe we counted 100 times.